Hello, my name is Melanie Putnam. Almost 14 years ago, I was incredibly blessed to receive the gift of a double lung transplant. I live in Milan with my husband Jay and my two boys. Milan's right by Rock Island. I was so excited when Melissa asked me to share my story, so thank you so much in advance for listening. I honestly never knew much of anything about organ donation prior to needing one. I lived a really healthy life, never had a health problem or a reason to even learn about it outside of checking yes to organ donation on my driver's license. Fast track to when I was 26. I was 20 weeks pregnant with my youngest son, and I went to my normal OB checkup where I complained about being more short of breath than I thought a normal pregnant woman should be. My amazing doctor listened to me, took me seriously, and sent me right upstairs for an x-ray. The x-ray was concerning, and by the next week, I was already in Iowa City meeting with a specialist. I'll never forget the day that my husband Jay and I sat in my doctor's office, waiting to meet her and hear the results of the scan. And life changed like I never could have expected the absolute second that she walked in. She greeted us and she put the scan of my lungs right up on the screen, and she pointed to hundreds and hundreds of little spots that were all over my lungs. She looked at us very honestly and just told us that it was not good. My diagnosis was a lung disease called lymphangioliomyomatosis. It's called LAM for short, so that's what I'll call it today. It's an incredibly rare lung disease. It only affects about 3 women per million. Smooth muscle-like cells grow rapidly and abnormally inside of the lung cavity, and that causes cysts to grow all over. The cysts are basically like parasites that just eat the lung tissue to the point that the patient has immense shortness of breath, and it would cause frequent lung collapses. She told us on the spot there was no cure for the disease, there's no medication to help me, and there was nothing that could be done. That it was basically just all about managing my symptoms as best as I could with oxygen and inhalers and hope it doesn't grow and develop too quickly. That the only hope I would have to survive once the lungs got too bad was a double lung transplant. I knew absolutely nothing about organ donation, and the idea of a surgery where they would take my lungs out of my body and give me someone else's was just absolutely crazy to me. I absolutely couldn't believe it. She said it was the very last resort option and that it came with a lot of risks, so it was something we would talk about at a later time. Of course, immediately, I started doing research about LAM. Very little was out there about my lung disease online, and I was just so frustrated. I had no idea what my life expectancy was going to look like or what the future would be. I had a 2-year-old at home at the time, and I was pregnant with my second, and I was just an emotional mess. From everything I read, every woman with LAM was different. Some had the disease and could live a full life with minimal problems, and some would develop quickly and pass within a few years. I just had absolutely no idea what my future would hold. My miracle baby Josiah was born 3 months early due to my lung function declining so quickly. He had a really rough start, but now he is almost 17, he's 6 foot tall, and he's so healthy. And he's at baseball right now, so I can't point him out to you. I did lung function testing about a month after I delivered Josiah. My lungs tested at about 76%, which means that of other women of my age and size, my lungs functioned at about 76% of what theirs did. A follow-up lung function test about 6 months later showed that I was at 50%. And then 3 months after that, I was around 35%. So in less than 1 year, my lungs had declined so rapidly that I was on the verge of needing to get a lung transplant already. In February of 2011, I was sick enough to get on the lung transplant list. I went through rigorous testing and procedures to make sure I was matched with the correct donor. Tissue, blood type, lung cavity size, all of those things mattered. My family and friends had to go with me to visit the transplant team to be sure I had enough support at home because it was a very, very long recovery process. I knew my life was going to change dramatically, but I was completely out of options. And I was so incredibly thankful when I was finally approved to be listed. I received a pager that I carried around with me so I didn't miss the call. Time was absolutely of the essence. At that point, my life became a living nightmare. I was on oxygen full time. I wasn't able to do much without help. That included walking short distances and even just moving out of my chair for that matter. I didn't leave the house often because of my oxygen requirements, and I basically spent my days just gasping for air. At one point, I was at less than 10% lung function, waiting for the call that my miracle lungs were available. I was trapped in a young 28-year-old body with lungs that had so many holes in them that I was just waiting to die. They were the hardest 2 years of my life because I couldn't be the mom or the wife that I wanted to be. One day I was at home with the boys, and I began having a seizure, and my lungs collapsed, and I ended up in respiratory failure. I was immediately airlifted to Iowa City, and I lived there in the ICU and the inpatient unit until my lungs became available. I had so many scary emergencies, lung collapses, and procedures during this hospital stay because they were doing everything they could do to keep me alive until the lungs became available. I was literally days from dying when on June 10th, 2011, lungs from a donor just a few miles away from the hospital became available. It was a very long surgery and an even longer recovery, but so successful and has given me 14 extra years on this earth. For those of you that don't know a lot about organ donation, you may wonder why I didn't just hurry up and get a lung transplant immediately when I knew I was sick. And that's such a great question. An organ donation is an amazing gift. There are lots of different types of transplants, and a lung transplant is one of the most difficult, with one of the shortest life expectancies. Lungs are a very difficult organ to keep, and every minute they are outside of the donor, they become more and more damaged. A lung transplant is only an extension to your life. It's not a cure. When you have a transplant surgery, the new lungs immediately become a foreign enemy to your body that your body will naturally want to reject because it doesn't belong to you. Transplant patients need to take daily immunosuppressants, which do the trick of essentially eliminating your immune system so your body doesn't notice that the foreign organ is there. The medications themselves are toxic for your body, even though they're doing great stuff and extending your life. Every transplant organ has a different life expectancy with it. For lungs, the success rating of the surgery itself was only 90%. Then the chance of survival after 1 year is 80%. 5 years is about 50% survival, and at the 10-year mark, less than 20% of people with lung transplants are still alive. The longest living patient that I'm personally aware of who received a double lung transplant is 20 years post, and that's very rare. Patients typically die from rejection of the organ because the body finally realizes that the organ doesn't belong to them, or by other complications. We're also very susceptible to cancer and other diseases due to the immunosuppressed status we're in for the rest of our lives. And due to the fact that literally thousands of people are waiting every day for an organ or tissue donation, and hundreds of people are dying every day waiting for a match who do not receive it, patients have to wait until they have no other hope and it's the last option before they're able to officially be listed. Now, as I said in the beginning of my talk, I am 14 years out from my transplant. I'm beating literally every odd to still be here today. Less than 15% of lung transplant patients are still here at the 14-year mark. So I know I am so truly blessed. After transplant, I always said I just want to live long enough for my kids to be out of elementary school so they can remember me and have core memories. Then the goal changed to junior high and then to high school, and I just kept soaring. My oldest is now in his first year of college this year. I was able to watch him all of the years excel in sports and academics in school. And I couldn't be more proud to see him through all of that and become an amazing young man. He's the handsome young man in the front there with his grandparents. Watching him graduate was a gift I can't even express. Literally, the entire month of graduation last year, I cried basically every day, all day. It was just amazing. And my miracle baby, like I said, he's almost 17. He's an incredible baseball player. He's an even better person. I'm so thankful to be his mom and to be here for all of his experiences. And on top of all of that, I've been able to experience life and parenting with my husband, who's truly my best friend. Super cute guy with the sunglasses and the hat right in the front row. I went through a lot of years of feeling so guilty that someone so young had to go through so much with his wife. And he's just been amazing every step of the way, and I couldn't ask for more. I still have struggles. I have different problems that arise and different issues I have to manage. I have lots of regular checkups, medical testing to be sure my body's in order, and I literally take 1,000,000 pills a day. I have to be super careful not to get sick, and when I do get sick, it's long, hard work to get better, but it's all worth it to be able to be here. And all of this was only possible because a absolutely wonderful woman, my absolute hero, checked yes on her driver's license and made her wishes known to her family. That wonderful woman's family made the sacrifice to honor those wishes and to donate her life-saving organs. And after that amazing sacrifice, my 15-hour surgery, and all of the years of ups and downs that I've had, I'm still here with my family, and I'm able to share with all of you the power and gift that organ donation can give to others. I truly wake up every day with an absolute spirit of thankfulness, knowing that every additional day is a gift to me, and I'll never forget that. Thank you so much for listening to me.